your equipment ready to send back.
I just got let go from my job. I don't know if I'm going to have health care when I go to have this baby in a couple months.
I just got fired from my job for being sick.
It's getting worse, everybody. Down the rabbit hole we go. The job crisis is here. People are losing their jobs left and right, both federal and private sectors. And some of these stories are just heart-wrenching. I want you to pay attention to some of these stories, and I want you to tell me in the comments down below what you would do if you were in the same situation. Maybe this will help somebody fight through this situation, feed their family, or know what to do next. Because when I was a young person, I had no idea what to do next. And if you're an older person, maybe this will help prepare you. Let's get to it.
I didn't think it would get to this point, I guess. I'm a federal employee, a remote federal employee at that. I moved with my husband because of military orders about a year and a half ago, and he got out and got his first, federal civilian job. So he's a probationary federal employee, and we are both scrambling to figure things out so that hopefully our 3-year-old's life doesn't have to completely change, and we can support the baby that I have on the way in 2 months. I don't even know how to feel right now. I mean, I just watched a video of someone saying that a federal employee just offed themselves because of this whole situation, because they lost their job. It sucks. I don't know if I'm going to have health care when I go to have this baby in a couple months. I don't know if I can pay my mortgage in a couple months, We have no clue what's going to happen. I'm scared. I worked my butt off to be in the position that I'm in right now. For context, I worked at McDonald's while my husband was active duty because I couldn't get a job in 2020 when I graduated and COVID hit. So I worked at McDonald's to pay our rent at the time. And the job that I'm at now is the job that gave me my first big break 4 years ago. And I've put everything I have into it. I've climbed the ladder.
Wow, what a story. I remember when me and Samantha were about to have our child. And having health benefits, just so important and so scary. And I didn't know how to navigate my own benefits. I did not realize how dangerous it was to have a child with your wife, the medical conditions of the child, how dangerous it is on the body, on a couple, the stress, everything that goes along with it, financially, medically. To be a young couple and facing this, feel the emotion in what she was trying to say. This is the reason why I talk about having a financial position, which I talked in my last video, having an emergency fund, making sure you're preparing for these type of situations. Probationary status as a worker is rough. And that's what we're seeing throughout all these videos is if you were in a probationary status, giving the opportunity, these corporations, federal government will just let you go.
Thank you so much. Also, you're going to be receiving some information about unemployment insurance. So at this time, you may stop working. I know it's unfortunate timing. I think you had to leave for the day too. So whenever you can this weekend or, at your convenience, you can get your equipment ready to send back.
I just got let go from my job. I just got let go. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Now that I've calmed down a little bit, I'm gonna look for another job right now. Start submitting those applications. If anyone's hiring for remote user admin, I can work in Compass. I know certain things about Gus or about other programs. I have a child. So my schedule is kind of specific. I need to be there to pick him up from school or to bring him to school. It's more important to bring him to school.
But if anyone's hiring remote or user admin or anything, I'll send my resume your way.
So what do you think about remote work? Should it be looked at as the same as having to go into work every day, sit there 9 to 5, do the same work if it can be done at home? What do you think about that? I mean, I really feel for the children. You know, as an adult, I know I can bounce back. I know I can get after it. I've tried to put myself in position financially to be strong. But my child, you know, when you lose your health insurance, when you lose your dental, your eyesight, and there is no worse feeling than having to take your kid to the doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning, emergency room, and you're worried about the medical bill. You're worried about, you know, will they accept our insurance? Is he going to have an EKG, or are they going to have to pump his stomach, or is there going to be an eye surgery or stitches? And I didn't realize that when they hook your kid up to some of these machines, even if it's for 5 minutes, you could literally get a bill for $3,000. Happened to us. And brief moment, you didn't have your health insurance because you were just let go. I mean, it's tragic.
I just got fired from my job for being sick. I got hired on March 7th. Somehow I got sick during my interview and I brought home a virus. Told them I wasn't going to be there. I finally get my training done and I'm in the classroom and I get a stomach bug. This is like a week and a half after I got over the cold. At this point, I'm pissing out my ass. So I told them I can't come to work. I'm on the toilet. After the stomach bug, I caught a head cold. And I mean, these were like back to back to back. There was literally a couple of days in between each of these sicknesses. I have a head cold now and I have a fever. Can't go to work. In between all of this, me getting sick, I had 2 court hearings that I had to be there for. That should have been excused. I finally get over the head cold and I get a fucking chest cold, which I have right now. So then on Tuesday, I called out because I had a fever. I was really sick. I get called to go to fucking HR's office and she fucking terminates me for my attendance.
So this is one I don't feel sorry for at all. She deserved every bit of that. Roast her down below. But there are employees that are like this. And I ran across this one when I was looking for videos. There's no way you can put her in the same category as some of these other people that are trying their best. It's breathtaking that some people want to work and they try their best and they work so hard and they have a streak of bad luck. And then there's those like this that just take advantage of the system and keep bouncing from place to place. I mean, she filled a spot that somebody wanted that job really bad. You know, she filled that spot and it could have gone to somebody that, you know, would have done a great job.
I was one of the thousands of federal workers terminated this weekend. Let's talk about it. Am I surprised? No. I was working for a federal health agency, so once RFK Jr. was confirmed last week, and they started almost immediately with the CDC and firing off 1,300 probationary workers on Friday, I knew that my time was coming very shortly after, and I got my email on Saturday. It was from an email I've never seen before. It was something like important HR notification at agency.gov, an email I've never seen before. It didn't come from one of my managers or direct supervisors. I haven't heard from anybody superior to me. I just got that email letting me know I was terminated for performance. The email said something along the line.
If you've gotten this email down below, or if you've gotten this email, message down below. I saw some in my last video, and it's very interesting to hear how this all went down so other people can learn from it.
Lines of the agency does not see my current.
It seems like they terminate everybody for performance on a probationary status. I think it's the catch-all, and that's what they're doing. They know it, and there's no way you're going to win this.
Skills and abilities as fit for continued employment, and therefore they're terminating my employment. And this is the same email that thousands and thousands and thousands of people got. It doesn't actually reflect my abilities or anybody's abilities who was laid off via this email. They're using the same cookie cutter template because when you're on the probationary period, which I am, as well as the thousands of other people currently being laid off, you can only let us go if it is a performance issue or a budget issue or something along those lines. And I guess the only reason that they could find that they could issue in a mass manner was performance issues. And you know, the thing is, it's almost comical when you reference performance issues when laying off probationary.
You know, when the federal government was adding all these jobs, that's how they add jobs. They add them to the federal government. They create positions. I remember, you know, during the Obama administration, it was the same way. When they grew the military, it was the same way. They create these positions. They over forecast. And I don't really know the answer to this rabbit hole. We know that the budget is too big. The budget can't be sustainable. There's too many programs zapping money out of the system. But then when you come in and you start getting rid of jobs, you wreck lives. I don't know how to tackle that answer. There were some departments doing some really bad stuff. That's coming to light. There was a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse. It's going to be worse down the line when they go through Social Security, the DOD. They got rid of USAID. When they go into these wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, all these, you're going to see massive amounts of fraud, waste, and abuse. But instead of sending people to prison for some of this stuff, it seems like we come in and we cut jobs where people have put their whole lives into moving to these places. And then what do they do? You know, I saw one while ago of a girl that she moved across country and then they fired her after a couple months. And what was she supposed to do? Like, she had nowhere to go. She didn't really know what to do. It was sad.
Employees, because many of these probationary employees at these federal health agencies were presidential management fellows, were pathways program employees, other really competitive programs that you enter to start federal service. These are the people you're letting go. So it was literally the top talent that they were recruiting to bring in to fill in these gaps and where they need people to serve. And they're letting those people go because of performance issues. And it's also not just these brand new hires. When you are put on the probationary period, that could be an employee who's been with some agency for 10, 20 years, but they just recently switched into a supervisor position. And so they were filling a gap in which they needed a supervisor in a critical role. They were in this way, they were serving for such a long period of time, serving successfully, that they were put into this role. And now in this new role, they were put on a probationary period, and now they're being let go. And again, with these particular programs that were meant to bring in top talent, these are either 1 year or 2 year programs.
So what do you think about all this? She seems like a very, very bright person. She's going to do great things, and government work probably is not where she should be. She's going to go on to find something amazing, and she's going to conquer that. But to fix this, do you think that the government is too big and it should keep getting bigger and everything should be part of the government? Or do you think that government should be smaller and all these jobs should be privatized? Does the government really need to be that big? I mean, the way I understand the Constitution, it was pretty much, we wanted a very little government, and we wanted the private world to govern itself, the states, the local level, the privatization of a lot of things. What do you think about that? Put it in the description box below. Maybe we can work this out. Patch it all up and send it to these politicians, and maybe they can figure this stuff out. It doesn't seem like politicians can figure it out on their own.
So I'm here at the VA again because this is where I work. Change that. I worked past tense because right now it's 2 o'clock and I just got notified that my position is no longer valid. And so I am going to go turn in my laptop and go home. Again, my performance was not good enough, even though when I talked to my boss, they absolutely, everybody I work with, including my boss, absolutely loved the work I was doing. But it was nice being here, helping out veterans every day, day in and day out, and doing a good job for my fellow patriots. It sucks, you know. I'm not a Trump supporter, never have been, definitely never will be. But yeah, this is definitely taking a meat cleaver to the entire federal government. And I know my specific position. I was helping veterans and their families seek end-of-life services, mainly making burial arrangements on their behalf, and actually doing funeral services for them. So yeah, it was actually a rewarding job, and look forward to having a good career doing something impactful. And I guess that's just not going to happen. So I'm going to go turn in my laptop and call it a day. And so I just wanted to say again, thank you, Trump. Thank you, President Musk. Let's make America great again, and fire everybody who is a hardworking, you know, somebody who just wants to do a good job for your country and be a good employee and help out. So, yep, going home, and wish me luck in the job hunt.
You know, as a veteran, as somebody that goes to the VA, utilizes the VA, these type of things hit hard. You know, when my dad passed away, the VA did what he did. They were the ones that helped with burial arrangements, point A to point B, getting him back here to Florida, the whole 9 yards. They did a great job. And if you're a veteran, have you had a good experience with the VA? It's been a rocky road for me. I mean, we have a very good VA here. But if you have a complaint, or if something, like I lost my doctor like 4 times in the last few years at the VA. Every time I go in there, there's new people because nobody wants to stay there very long. It seems like it's a tough place to want to stay over a long period of time. Like the doctors don't want to stay there, so they're constantly rotating them out. The psychiatrists, the social workers, it's always a new one, always a new one. And it seems like a system that has a lot of clunky moving parts. I know for me, I would have rather just send me somewhere else. Send me out to the civilian world. But I know there's a lot of hard things to fix in the VA. And I feel for this man. I don't know what his story was. Seems like he had a tough time on it. And I think no matter which way you go, either dismantle it and build it back up right, or you keep letting it go, being clunky and veterans not getting what they need. It is advanced light years from the way it was 5 years ago, 8 years ago. There's still things, like I still haven't even got my eyeglasses from when I went in there 3 months ago. And it was supposed to be like 2-week delivery. If all of a sudden your doctor quits in the middle of you waiting on an eye doctor, just tough. There's nowhere for you to go. And by the time you get a referral, it's like months and months and months have passed. And then the doctors try real hard and they get frustrated with the system and then they quit. And then the veterans are just left without. I don't know how to fix that system other than dismantle it and rebuild it.
I'm just like a little confused because why put the listing on if you don't have like the budget for the role? Because I like uprooted my life to move over here and now my job is getting eliminated after 3 months.
Gabrielle, I can understand that would be a difficult thing to process. These decisions are taken at the time of your hiring. That was not part of the strategy, but this has been more recent. If you read in the trades today that this is happening company-wide, it's part of the company's broader strategy and not at the station level.
Okay. I just want to know too, like, was at the time I was there, I just hope my performance and skill set, showed off and that I did a good job while I was in the role. Is there any feedback on that?
This decision isn't in any way based upon your performance. This is just part of the overall company's broader strategy.
Okay.
There is no way I could sit there and listen to that garbage. You just uprooted me from across the country to come and work your company. And as soon as I get there and I get settled in, get an apartment, start, first, last month rent, all of a sudden, bingo, you're going to let me go. And then you're going to do it so suave, like with no emotions, no nothing. And that cat's about to get fired too. They just let you go. What about your family? What about your time? What about your effort? And people are like, well, that's tough. Well, at some point, if you have to move all the way across the country and they just let you go, and they never meant to keep you there in the first place. Look, zombie job listings are a thing. They'll list all these jobs. They'll even have people submit resumes, and they might do a few rounds of actual interviews, and nobody was ever going to get hired for the job. Or if they got you there, they never were going to keep you. That should be criminal. If you had the intent to defraud people moving there and get them to do all these things, and there never was a job to begin with, that should be criminal.
Unfortunately, this has resulted in your role being impacted. And as of today, you will be relieved of your job responsibilities. Please know that this was a difficult decision, and we thought a lot about how our teams need to be reorganized, reimagined to best support our strategy and the business as a whole. I know this news is hard to hear and that you may have questions, but I want to thank you for your contributions to the team. Regarding the details of your exit.
I mean, at least in the old days, they had to do it face to face, Call you in, worry about you coming across the table, worry about you throwing some stuff, causing a scene, Jerry Maguire like. Well, here, they ain't got to worry about it. They just do it on Zoom, and then they shut you off. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I mean, if I was going to fire somebody, it would be on a Monday, and they would have time to have a job by Friday. Never do it on a Friday. Never fire somebody on a Friday when they got to sit there all weekend and ponder the anxiety.
Well, this is really embarrassing. And I know I posted as a joke the other night about wanting to have $1 million by the time I turn 30. And I said that I'm 29 and I turned 30 in May. But I just found out that the place that
1 year to make $1 million, that's tough. Don't see that happening.
I work is likely going out of business at the end of this month. And I will likely be without a job. And I have, just like everybody else, I have bills, I have debt, I have a son and that goes to daycare, and I could really just use like a distraction or some words of encouragement at this time, because I have never, not once in my life, been in a position where I'm gonna have to choose which bills get paid so that we don't end up homeless. And I'm mad at myself for not being in a better financial situation, and not asking for anything from anyone other than just some advice or some tips on what I can do. I've already been interviewing at several different places because I knew that there was a possibility this might happen. I've had some interviews, and some of them were like months ago, and I've never heard anything back. And then some they've kept me updated on where they are, the interview process, and they're still running their budget numbers, and it seems like everybody is being really cautious with hiring right now, which I understand. It's a tumultuous situation. I just don't know. I am truly just embarrassed that I'm not in a better situation, and it makes me feel irresponsible. But when I had my son, I didn't know that this was going to happen. I never dreamed that this would happen to me, and I took this current job because it was making a lot more money than my last job, and I never dreamed that they would offer me that much money knowing that they didn't have enough cash flow to support my salary, let alone everybody else that works at the company. So I'm just angry at myself and not sure what is going to happen next, and I'm frustrated that I never made it to 10,000 on TikTok in time to be able to use this as a way to supplement my income, and now it's being taken away from us, and I don't know. I wasn't ever banking on using TikTok as full-time income. It would just be nice to get, something, that now we won't even have that opportunity. And I think that TikTok was the most user-friendly app to monetize. I don't know how to monetize the other things besides YouTube, and that takes a tremendous amount of legwork, and it takes equipment and editing software that I don't have. And TikTok was so user-friendly, and you could do it right on your phone. I never once used a computer, and I don't know how people monetize.
I tell you, these stories are heart-wrenching, and it really just boils down to making sure your financial position is strong. Get rid of debt, pay off your house, make sure you have the emergency fund. If you're renting, you have an emergency fund. You're preparing that this could happen. This could happen at any time to anybody. Heck, I could lose my YouTube channel. I could lose my real estate license. Any of these things. Samantha could get laid off. She's had friends get laid off. She's had people that work with her get laid off. She's seen it as much, and we've had these discussions. What would we do? We've always tried to make sure we had a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and ensure that if it happened, what would we do? Even if it was a hurricane and it destroyed our house or destroyed the hospital or wherever you work, and it's no longer there anymore, what would you do? I really feel for the kids, being without benefits, and it really frustrates me after seeing what happens in war, that Afghanistan, Iraq, now the Ukraine, we pump all this money into these foreign wars, but yet we have these things like unemployment happening to people and little kids being without things, without being able to go to a doctor and things like that. That really frustrates me. Heck, the amount of money we sent to the Ukraine, we could have made sure healthcare was what it was supposed to be. We could have made, like, there was so many things. We could have ended homelessness. I mean, whether they want to live in the house or not, we could have built enough houses for all of them. All the homeless. It's the amount of money that we waste and these politicians waste, which really frustrate me. And then you come in and you axe a lot of things, but we never once get rid of the war machine, or never once get rid of the fraud. And then when you get rid of the fraud, people complain about getting rid of the fraud. I don't know what the answer is. My job is to point out the stories of people that are struggling, and then pointing out where politicians are just running amok. And we all know they've been doing that for a very long time. We know that most of them are corrupt. They get caught all the time and they talk their way out of it. And it's just in our face now with social media that we can see it day in and day out. So make sure you have 2 to 3 to 4 months of mortgage saved up, because you miss 2, you're done. They're going to start foreclosing on you. It doesn't matter how far along you are on the note, they're going to get theirs. Make sure that you're building a network of friends, family, people that can help you. People that are in your industry that if you got fired, you could contact and get another job fast. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is strong. Make sure you've got some social media presence to where you could go out and say, hey guys, I lost my job today. Here's my resume. Here's the things I could do good. Who has a position open? I really need to interview as soon as possible, and just be Johnny on the spot. And then you get outside of your element. You go out there, you start shaking hands, you start going into these new facilities and say, I want a job, until they try to throw you out of there. You got to beat feet, and you got to make sure you are working hard to get back into the industry. Or you might realize, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. This is my time because I have an emergency fund. I have a paid off house. I have no debt. I've planned for the future, that maybe I want to go do something else. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to start a business. I realize I like putting flowers and bouquets together. I realize I like making cocktails. I realize I like building model trains. I realize I want to be a school teacher. I realize I want to be something different. After they downsized the force, I was like, that YouTube stuff looks pretty cool. And for me, it worked out. But that's not for everybody. It really got me when she started talking about TikTok. Look, some people will do great on the internet. They have the gift of gab. For me, I started this as just a funny thing to do to video myself fishing. And it grew into something I enjoyed, turned into a business, and I just kept doing it 10 years later. Okay, I've been doing this a long time. It's not something you just jump into. But if it's something you're truly passionate about and you've got it going while you're doing your job, and it grows into something and soon replaces what you had before, or you lost what you had and you said, I'm going to do this full time, it can be a great thing. And it can be a great side hustle that turns into a business itself. But the thing about, like with TikTok and some of these others, they are easy for other people to get into too. And then there can only be so many people on the platform at one time, unless you're just amazing at it. So you can't really bank on it until it's a thing. Same way with like real estate. You just don't quit your job, go be a real estate agent for most people. You wind up kind of slowly getting into it while you're doing something else until it becomes something, and then you're able to leave this. One of my great friends, he has a really big YouTube channel. He was a highway patrol, and he started his YouTube channel as a fun side thing with his kids and his family. And it turned into an amazing thing that I think now he's about to hit 1 million subscribers. But he finally realized that he didn't want to be in law enforcement anymore. The riots were going on. There was a lot of things going on that was just, his heart wasn't in it anymore. And he looked and he said, I've got this thing, I'm going to do this. And that's when his side hustle, his entrepreneurial thing became something amazing. And he was willing to take that leap of faith. But not having either thing going and then saying, I'm just going to do this one thing is really hard. It happens. I know a lot of people that do it. But you have to do it from a financially stable place. If your house is paid for and you got no debt, they mistreat you at work, you say, you know what, I'm out of here. I'll figure it out. And that's a great place to be. I'll see you guys in the next video. That's all I got.